My name is Duncan Thompson. My ancestral roots in this area go back to 1887 in the town of Cardston, to 1899 in the town of McGrath, and to 1902 in the hamlet of Spring Coulee where I live. I had the wonderful privilege of serving with Royce Jacobs on County Council for part of a term in 98 and 99, and was one of the people that put my hand up to the first land use bylaw, thereby satisfying the requirements of the Municipal Government Act that was brought in 1995. What I wish to emphasize tonight to you is some legislation, some of which you may be familiar with, some of which you may not. I took the liberty of copying these particular provisions for the audience so they'll understand just what the law is about and how it applies. Firstly, I want to touch on the Alberta Bill of Rights. This was first brought in 1972, a year after Peter Lougheed was elected Premier, and 10 years before the Charter of Rights and Freedoms was enacted in federal Parliament. The preamble says, whereas the free and democratic society existing in Alberta is founded on principles that acknowledge the supremacy of God and on principles fostered by tradition that honor and respect human rights and fundamental freedoms and the dignity and worth of the human person. In section 1A it states, it is hereby recognized and declared that in Alberta there exist, without discrimination by reason of race, national origin, color, religion, or sex, the following human rights and fundamental freedoms, namely, the right of the individual to liberty, security of the person, and enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived thereof except by due process of law. Now obviously in Canada we have two constitutionally recognized levels of government, the federal and provincial. Municipal governments are not recognized in the Constitution, but are a creature, a child of the provincial legislature. And as such, they can only act in accordance with the directions and latitude accorded them by the province. And one of the most important things that gives credence to what a municipality does in the planning area is found in section 617. And why I emphasize this, gentlemen, is that if you do not comply with the Municipal Government Act, then you're acting outside the law, and as a result, that is not due process, and that thereby you're infringing the fundamental freedom of enjoying our property. The purpose of this part and the regulation and bylaws under this part is to provide means whereby plans and related matters may be prepared and adopted, A, to achieve the orderly, economical, and beneficial development, use of land and patterns of human settlement, and to maintain and improve the quality of the physical environment within which patterns of human settlement are situated in Alberta. I've chosen to underline or highlight without infringing on the rights of individuals for any public purpose. You are limited and restricted in what you can do. You do not have a blank check to do whatever you feel you might want to. The only latitude in that is except to this extent that it is necessary for the overall greater public interest. And looking at this bylaw, and I'm comfortable that as you deliberated on its provisions, that none of you would have taken into account whether or not it was necessary. Might be nice, but is it necessary? Because once you do not have an objective reason for determining it's in the overall public interest, then you're operating outside the law. The other thing that's important is the emphasis on the economical. And we have, I know, an agenda by ORSC, that's their job, to deal with planning matters, and they don't seem to worry too much about economic viability. Section 3 requires, in the Municipal Government Act, requires that the purpose of a municipality are to develop and maintain safe and viable communities. Flowers in the garden are not as important as bread on the table. And you need to not only need to, but you're mandated by the legislation to keep that in mind as you enact rules, regulations, and impose conditions and restrictions. And Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to pay attention to your 5-minute rule. Once that I have the fundamental right to freedom of speech, and not to be limited by some arbitrary time limit. I understood that the purpose for your hearing tonight was to receive input from the public. And unfortunately, there's more than 5 minutes worth of input that I must give to you. So, in regard to our Regional Advisory Council report that the provincial government had mandated for our South Saskatchewan River Basin, ORS decided to comment on that report, and it's on their website. But here's their comment, because one of the main goals was a healthy economy. And ORS says, conversely, several potential issues may be of concern to municipality. The advice has an overriding emphasis on economic development, is limited in its address of municipal planning and development issues. So obviously, ORS believes that the economy isn't as important as what they would like to have planned for us. I also want to emphasize that, unfortunately, this meeting is not properly constituted under the Municipal Government Act. Section 692 outlines for planning bylaw the hearing that has to be put together. Subsection 4 says, in the case of an amendment to a land use bylaw to change the district designation of a parcel of land, the municipality must, in addition to the requirements of subsection 1, and then it goes ABC. The whole purpose of what you're doing is to change virtually every land use designation in this municipality. You must give written notice containing the information described in Clause A and in subsection 606 sub 6 to the assessed owner of that parcel at the name and address shown on the assessment roll of the municipality. That was not done. And give a written notice containing the information described in Clause A and in subsection 6 of 606 to each owner of adjacent land at the name and address shown for each owner on the assessment roll of the municipality. That was not done. Section 606 sub 6 stipulates in subsection C, a notice must contain, in the case of a bylaw or resolution, an outline of the procedure to be followed by anyone wishing to file a petition in respect of it. Your notice clearly says that no questions are to be asked by the public at this meeting, but it fails to include the provisions for anyone wishing to file a petition. And as a result, what this meeting, because it doesn't comply with those mandatory responsibilities on the part of council or its administration, cannot be seen as a public hearing within the meaning of the Act. The other thing that I want to emphasize is the suggestion that there's an expiry date on a bylaw, on the land use bylaw in particular. Emphasis has been made that this current one was done in 1998. Also, there's been an emphasis that land use policies must be looked at when one is enacting or amending a bylaw. The land use policies that are on the Municipal Affairs website were put in place in 1996, 2 years prior to our land use bylaw coming into effect, and the provinces seem fit to leave them the way they are. So I submit that there is no such thing as an expiry date on a bylaw, especially if, as you've emphasized, it's been amended a number of times to reflect the changes that are needed. I must say that I was greatly disappointed when Mr. Burrell only read the main body of my letter. There were 354 signatures on that, on those 43 sheets, and he chose not to read into the record who had signed that statement of objection. I find that inappropriate, and Mr. Chairman, I'm going to take the time to read the names of the people who did sign. Harry Roberts, Brian Shaw, Ann Shaw, Naomi Peterson, Shayna Sala, Alexander Sala, Rebecca Prophet, Eric Prophet, Jared Van Howard, Rachel Van Howard, Heather Burton, Jared Hebert, Sherry Hebert, Darren Baker, Eric Stewart, Brad Savey, Leanne Cook, Corey Joe Frogley, Joe Cook, Caitlin Cook, Brett Nish, Clayton Kennard, Randy Kennard, Linda Mook, Didier Arius, Christine Arius, Kathy Richards, Bill Richards, Justin Henniger, Kazel Winder, Mike McCarthy, Wayne Jensen, Debbie Jensen, J.R. Thompson, Nicole Thompson, Barbara Thompson, Duncan Thompson, Amanda Nish, Kaylee Viola, Vicky Powson, Becky Stewart, Floyd Stewart, Julianne Sommerfeld, Dallin Sommerfeld, Hannah Lee Griffiths, Karen Wiley, Alan Wiley, Aaron Mook, Marcia Ripley, Leah Ripley, Joe Ripley, Melody Van Howard, Charlotte Van Howard, Gib Schaefer, Trina Stewart, Joanne Baker, Nicholas McLaren, Kevin Soper, Leslie Soper, Kathy Soper, Jean Houslin, Megan Card, Wes Card, Paula Hartley, Gronk Hilling, John Berry, Bart Anderson, Susan Anderson, Royce Levitt, Craig Carnell, Eric Prophet, Ken Mackin, Josh Caldwell, Mitch Carter, Toby Waldner, David Waldner, Michael Waldner, Kathy Waldner, Rebecca Waldner, David Waldner, Andy Waldner, Elizabeth Waldner, Josh Waldner, Mary J. Waldner, Sarah Waldner, Paul Waldner, Jake Waldner, Sarah Waldner, Barbara Waldner, Katie Waldner, Chris Waldner, Mary M. Waldner, Martin Waldner, Sam Waldner, Mary S. Waldner, Martha S. Waldner, Martha J. Waldner, Joe Waldner, George Waldner, Mike Waldner, George Waldner, Henry Waldner, Rachel Waldner,
somebody get him a cup of water.
Waldner, Frida Waldner, Henry Waldner, Andy Waldner, Sam Waldner, Ben Waldner, Miriam Waldner, David Waldner, Ann Waldner, Susan Waldner, Linda Waldner, David B. Waldner, Susie Waldner, Rebecca Waldner, Dora Waldner, Annie Waldner, Sarah Ann Waldner, Kathy Waldner, Eli Waldner, Doug Sheen, Steve Quinton, Ken Wild, Guy Woldy, Frank R. Smith, Mike Bevins, Richard Wild, Daryl Bevins, Stephen Bevins, Bob Wilson, LeGrand Bevins, Merrill Cook, Russell Viola, Jacqueline Avery, Tom Avery, Lance Russell, Leonard Deuce, Ernie Olson, Kevin Quinton, Tom Dish, Colton Avery, Dennis Allred, Mark Heggie, Brian Allred, Justin Heggie, Tracy Russell, Corrine Allred, Jesse Hall, Charlie Carey, Brandy Pausland, April Nish, John Cooper, Robert Cooper, Donna Cooper, Megan Pearson, Rob Pearson, Teresa Steed, Betty Wiley, Gerald Riley, Harlan Smith, Cynthia Smith, Judy Skipworth, Brian Skipworth, Sheldon Houseman, Lori Radish, Wright, Eos Boyce, Darlene Winchester, Kyla Winchester, Corinne Bennett, Roy Bennett, Frank Waldner, Sam Waldner, Darius Waldner, Leah Waldner, Andrew Waldner, Esther Waldner, Philip Waldner, Debbie Waldner, Rachel Waldner, Dave Waldner, Dora Waldner, Annie Waldner, Judy Waldner, Ben Waldner, Esther Waldner, Judy Waldner, Linda Waldner, David Waldner, David M. Waldner, Miriam D. Waldner, Jonathan Waldner, Miriam Waldner, Sarah Waldner, George Waldner, Eli Waldner, Esther Waldner, Eli Waldner, Esther Waldner, Catherine Waldner, Levi Waldner, Ben Waldner, Mark Waldner, Rosa Waldner, Benny Waldner, Mary Ann Waldner, Lydia Waldner, Merlin Bevins, Jordan Bevins, Marvin Bevins, Mary Bevins, Michael Shipley, Jeremy Bevins, Pasha Bevins, Lonnie Shipley, Tanya Nelson, Coltan Farms, sung by Tanya Nelson, Gordon Levitt, Cammie Hansen, sorry, Kathy, I'm sorry, Charles Hurst, I think, Mark Charles Hurst, Deborah J. Haslam, Rachel Waldner, Jake Waldner, Matt Waldner, Jerry Waldner, Daniel Waldner, Matilda Waldner, Joe Waldner, Chris Waldner, Bertha Waldner, Sarah Waldner, Christopher Waldner, Walter Waldner, Eli Waldner, Esther Waldner, Barbara Waldner, Ann Waldner, Susan Waldner, Esther May Waldner, Martin J. Waldner, Kim Prince, Jeffrey Prince, Colleen Ford, Walter Ford, Gary Nish, Mary Moxley, Tina Hausman, Olivia Ranger, Ben Nish, Jody Nish, John Poss. Gordon Moxley, Wendy Nish, Valerie Prince, Cody Prince, Carol Stewart, Karen Toon, Cheryl Romano, Carl Romero, Sheila Hall, Carol Barr, Laura Levitt, Barbara Baird, Gary Wahlberger, Shelley Wahlberger, Annie Van Orman, Mick Halleck, Misty Halleck, Robbie Van Orman, Kathy Nelson, Donald Nelson, Rick West, Vanessa Leishman. That's a cross-section of your very all opposed for the reasons stated on this sheet as to what you're doing. Mr. Chairman, I urge you with all my heart to repeal this bylaw. And for the other reasons that I support here, look to the people. Think about, is it necessary? Think about it, is it economically viable? We're not the city of Calgary. We're Cardston County with 4,167 people and 750,000 acres. Thank you very much.
Council, my name is Bruce Weaver. I live up in Boundary Creek. Some of you know me, some of you have heard of me, and some of you are just another pretty face in the crowd. Everybody wants to maintain their rights. Their rights of freedom, rights of security, rights of property,